right now on 5 on Your Side at 10.
Tonight, she was a nurse at Cardinal Glennon for nearly 20 years. Now police say they've caught her killer. Hear from her daughter only on 5 on Your Side.
Pure relief.
The murder suspect, not even old enough to drive. Plus tonight, big payout. The dozens of St. Louisans getting millions of dollars from the city following protests in their neighborhoods.
Another weather alert as strong storms are rolling out of mid-Missouri right now.
We begin tonight with that weather alert. You're taking a live look now over Chesterfield. Skies are clear, but some storms are possible. Thank you for joining us. I'm Ann Allred. Some parts of our viewing area are already under a severe thunderstorm watch. Let's go to Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell with a look at the weather first forecast.
You know, that's Gasconade County, far to the west of St. Louis. There's a chance that watch could get extended a little farther east, but the overall severe weather threat is really focused where it is right now and into Gasconade County and into Montgomery County, out to the west of St. Louis along Interstate 70. And we may see a bit of a weakening trend here as time rolls along. Here's the cluster of thunderstorms right now, and yes, there is some rotation in there. There's actually a tornado warning in effect right around the Fulton area, and that's going to stretch right up to the Montgomery County line as that system is moving on to the east. But you see, it's a good distance away from St. Louis. It's also storming in Jefferson City with some gusty winds too. We do think this is going to end up mainly taking a bit of a turn more towards the southeast and tend to go across parts of Gasconade, southwestern Franklin counties. It'll try to turn to the right and probably weaken a little bit, but then there's still a few more storms that develop overnight to the north of St. Louis. So we'll go with a weather alert at this point. We think there'll be an overall weakening trend to some degree here since we've lost the heat of the day. That severe thunderstorm watch, Montgomery County, Gasconade County stretching back to the west. Again, we expect to get an update from the Storm Prediction Center in just a little bit on that, but we're thinking it's mainly scattered thunderstorms and mostly a wind threat. Even if there's a tornado, it's one of those spin-up quick hitters. Doesn't last very long. Why tomorrow looks like it's going to end up being a much quieter day in a few minutes, Ann.
That's good news. Remember, you can get the weather first forecast anytime on your phone. Just text the word weather to 314-425-5355. New tonight, a teenager is now charged with killing a longtime nurse and dumping her body in East St. Louis nearly a year ago. Our Robert Townsend has reaction from the victim's daughter in a story you'll only see on 5 on Your Side.
It's been nearly a year since Harriet Childers was found dead here on this street in East St. Louis. A 15-year-old is now charged in the case, and that's some comfort for Childers' daughter.
To be honest, it's hell of a relief. He left my mom in the street like a piece of trash.
On the morning of August 27, 2022, police found 49-year-old Harriet Childers shot to death in the 1800 block of Gady Avenue.
She was my best friend. She was understanding. She was helpful. She was loving.
Childers was also a beloved wife, grandmom, and a full-time nurse at SSM Health Cardinal Glennon Children's Hospital in South St. Louis for nearly 20 years.
She loves those babies. She loves every child that she sat her in encounter with. You'll see how big her smile was and how easily it can light up a room.
Childers was driving part-time for Uber when she was killed.
I found out earlier today
that police arrested a 15-year-old East St. Louis boy. Prosecutors charged the teen with murder and hijacking a vehicle.
I don't wish him well. I don't wish him the best. And whoever encouraged this, they should be disappointed. I feel like justice for my mom will be her seeing her family heal from this eventually.
At this point, investigators have not given us any additional information. Meantime, the young suspect is being held in the St. Clair Juvenile Detention Center. Robert Townsend, 5 on Your Side.
Following today's charges, an Uber spokesperson released a statement saying, quote, "We are grateful to law enforcement for their unwavering efforts to seek justice for Harriet over the past year. We continue to keep her loved ones in our hearts and hope this development helps provide a sense of closure." With youth crime on the rise, one nonprofit organization is launching a new campaign to help keep kids off the street. It's called the Streetlight Campaign. Members of the 7th Grade Poetry Foundation put up billboards and signs like these throughout the city to help spread the word about child safety. It comes from the old St. Louis saying that when the streetlights come on, children know when to come home.
You have a choice. And we're giving every community that we've talked to that choice by presenting the signage. It's basically you have a choice of you being the one who sets the rules in your household for the young people you're responsible for.
Currently, the ads are on more than 140 Metro buses in St. Louis City and County. Let's get to some breaking news right now out of North St. Louis. That's where accident reconstruction teams are investigating an accident at the intersection of West Florissant and Davison. Police say a motorcyclist is unresponsive at this time. We'll update you when we learn more information. Tonight, police are working to identify a woman killed in a crash last night in St. Louis County. It happened on Lindbergh near Robbins Grove Drive in Florissant. This is an unusual crash. Police say one car hit a street sign, then a piece of that sign went through another car, a woman's car, into her windshield, and it killed her. The other driver stayed at the scene and is working with investigators. Tonight, the families of 4 teenage boys are relieved after a nighttime hike turned into a rescue. Last night, the boys went on a hike on the Katy Trail in St. Louis County and they got stuck on a cliff. A search started around 7 in the Weldon Spring area after calling for help. Fire crews rescued them around 11 last night, but did not reveal their exact ages. New tonight, 7 dozen people who accused St. Louis police of violating their rights following downtown protests in 2017 are now picking up their settlement checks. The city agreed to pay the plaintiffs nearly $5 million. The protests followed the acquittal of former police officer Jason Stockley. 5 Interside's Brent Solomon is here to explain. Brent.
Well, and people who were around at that time won't soon forget the protests, chaos, and violence that occurred after the officer who fatally shot Anthony Lamar Smith was cleared of murder charges. When protests broke out, activists say police violated their civil rights.
You're looking at the 2017 protests in downtown St. Louis following the acquittal of former police officer Jason Stockley.
They're surrounding us entirely.
I was told that everybody was under arrest and to get on the sidewalk.
Including yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Had you ever been arrested before?
No.
Nicole Warrington says she was there to document how police were interacting with activists. Her charge was later dropped. The memories of what she says happened that night are crystal clear.
The sound of the batons. There were officers lining wall to wall, and the batons were just beating, and the officers were all saying in unison, move back, and I think I will always remember the sound of all of those batons hitting the ground. They were pushing us all into the center of the intersection.
Once we saw the videos, we knew that what the police did was wrong.
That's why Javad Khazali sued the city on their behalf.
At first we filed 12 different lawsuits for 14 people. And then slowly we started realizing that there were close to 100 people. So we turned this into a class action.
In the settlement agreement, the city denied any wrongdoing, saying the settlement should not be construed as an admission or concession of any legal violations or any failure to comply with the law. Friday, we were there as some of the 84 people who filed suit came to pick up their checks.
I hope that moving forward that folks are allowed to use their voices as we're supposed to be able to do here as citizens. There needs to be some basic protection of our rights and basic recognition of each other's humanity.
Now, each plaintiff in this case is receiving an average of $43,000 after attorney fees. At the time, the city told us it would not comment on pending litigation. Now that the case is settled, a spokesperson told me today the city's stance cited in that settlement agreement still stands. Ann.
Today, former President Trump pleaded not guilty to new charges against him in the classified documents case. This is the second time in the past 24 hours that Trump has entered a not guilty plea in 2 different cases. He entered the plea through a court filing and did not appear in court. According to the filing, he also waived his right to be present for the arraignment on the new superseding indictment next week. Developing tonight, residents in Highland, Illinois are under a boil order until further notice after a water main break on Illinois Route 143. Residents are asked to boil water for 5 minutes before drinking or cooking. The city says officials are testing water samples, and the order could be lifted as early as tomorrow afternoon. Tonight, the health department is warning people about a possible measles exposure in St. Charles and St. Louis counties. We will list the places. Health officials say it's a confirmed case of internationally imported measles. People could have been exposed at 3 locations: Fitness Edge in Creve Coeur, Total Access Urgent Care in St. Charles, and the ER at Barnes Jewish Hospital in St. Peters. The dates and the times of the exposure risk vary from location, but they're in the week of July 21st to July 25th. Some symptoms to look out for include a high fever, cough, runny nose, and a rash that appears 7 to 21 days after exposure. If you are showing symptoms, you need to contact your health provider and avoid going to a healthcare facility without calling them and telling them about your symptoms first. Taking a walk through the halls after a deadly tragedy.
I have hope that after today, the congressmen and congresswomen will go back to Congress and take action.
Hear one mother's emotional reaction as she joins other victims' families of the Parkland school shooting. The sun is heating up the summer and your skin. Our Consumer Reports provides tips on how to treat sunburns.
And our weather alert has phased into a storm alert now. The severe thunderstorm watch is extended into St. Louis until 1 a.m. and a severe thunderstorm warning now in effect for northwestern portions of Gasconade County. That storm right now is moving to the east, southeast, and does have some winds with it as it continues to press on. Our thinking is at this point that it's mainly a wind threat, but we can't rule out an isolated tornado spinning up. It won't get to Herman until along about 10:46. But we're tracking tonight in the Weather First team.
Today, lawmakers and family members of the victims of the Parkland school shooting walked through the halls for a reenactment of the deadly attack. It comes ahead of plans to demolish the building. 17 people died in that 2018 massacre. Tonight, one victim's mother is sharing the emotion she felt while walking inside the building.
It's so painful to be able to see the bullet holes in the wall, the glass on the floor, the blood where my daughter, Alyssa, was tragically murdered that day in room 1216. But I have hope.
The reenactment comes as part of a civil trial against the school resource officer who was on duty the day of that shooting. Tomorrow, the FDA is expected to decide on a pill for those struggling with postpartum depression. It's called zuranolone. Researchers have given one group of women the pill to take once a day for 2 weeks, and the other group got a placebo. They say women who took zuranolone saw symptom relief within 3 days.
Once you take the medication, a person recovers from depression, and then their risk of relapse diminishes significantly.
Depression can happen anytime within the first year after childbirth. If you or anyone you know struggles with depression, you can call the Suicide and Crisis Hotline by dialing 988. Fun in the sun can come to a scorching halt with a nasty sunburn. If you've ever gotten one, you know how unpleasant they are, but there's some good news. Consumer Reports has some tips you can use to help alleviate those sunburn pains. Here's Mike Bush.
Getting a sunburn is never fun. Your skin feels like it's on fire, and anything that touches you hurts, not to mention the potential long-term health effects.
Every time you get a sunburn, it ages your skin and it increases your risk for skin cancer.
Preventing sunburn should be priority 1 by wearing sunscreen and covering up. But for those times you may have forgotten to apply sunscreen or even reapply after a swim or working out and ended up getting a wicked burn, there are some things you can do to help relieve the discomfort, like taking frequent cool baths or showers.
As soon as you're done bathing, pat yourself dry. Don't rub the towel against your skin. You want to leave your skin a little damp and then apply moisturizer.
Look for moisturizers that contain aloe vera or soy. Since getting burned inflames the skin, taking an anti-inflammatory like aspirin or ibuprofen can help reduce swelling and alleviate any discomfort. Be sure to also keep hydrated, even drinking more water than you usually do. If your skin blisters, don't pop or peel them, allow them to heal. And if you do go outside, cover up by wearing clothes that cover the burned areas and stay in the shade as much as possible. And to help prevent getting a sunburn in the first place, wear sunscreen. A top-performing sunscreen with a perfect score that's also a CR Smart Buy Coppertone Water Babies Lotion SPF 50, and despite its name, it can be used by adults as well. And be sure to use a teaspoon per body part or area that's not covered up with clothing. If you're using a spray, hold the nozzle about an inch from your skin and spray until your skin glistens, and then rub it in. And for all types of sunscreens, reapply every 2 hours and after swimming.
If your burn is severe, be sure to see a doctor, especially if you feel unwell, you have chills, a fever, or nausea. Back to school season is kicking off with tax-free weekend, which makes it a good time to start your back-to-school shopping. West County Mall was filled with shoppers getting a head start on the savings. Thanks to a recent Missouri Senate bill, all local sales tax will be exempt on qualified items, such as school supplies, laptops, clothes, and more, meaning the price you see is the price you pay.
There's no tax on any clothing item or shoes that are valued $100 or less. Also, computers that are valued $1,500 or less are also tax-free, as well as other computer equipment that goes with it.
Those deals are in person and online. The sales tax holiday continues tomorrow through Sunday. And just a few blocks away at the Dome at America Center is this year's Back to School Expo hosted by the Urban League. It kicked off today with a career fair. Tomorrow, hundreds of families can get everything they need to be prepared for the school year, including free school supplies, haircuts, immunizations, and more. It runs from 10 until 6. For everything you need to know about back to school season, just text the word school to 314-425-5355. Let's get back to Scott. He is tracking thunderstorms.
I think it's going to be as widespread. We're in storm alert tonight, Ann, because we do have these thunderstorms coming at us from mid-Missouri. They did produce, when they were west of mid-Missouri, out in western Missouri, they did produce a couple of tornadoes, we believe. But now it looks like it's more of a wind threat than anything else. That one tornado warning that was in effect bumping up against Montgomery County has been allowed to expire or canceled. But we still have some strong winds here with this as it's pushing off towards the east. We think it's going to tend to turn a little bit and head more southeast over the next hour or two. But there are still pockets in here of some strong winds. One's north of Westphalia. Another is just west of Gasconade County, right here along the river, the Missouri River, which of course, by the way, if you haven't been across it or aren't close to it, it's jumped quite a bit, up about 10, 11 feet because of the rainfall we had. Still below flood stage, but big jump. So we're talking about this storm pushing in towards Gasconade, pushing in towards Herman. 1034 for Gasconade, Herman about 1045. That's when you can expect the strongest winds with that storm. I'd also watch out for Lynn and over towards Mount Sterling as this slides on towards the east, because those were the two pockets where the strongest winds are showing up on the radar screen. Now, the National Weather Service here in St. Louis has extended that severe thunderstorm watch a little farther to the east and a little farther to the southeast here to take into account what's going on at the moment. It does include Lincoln County and the metro area, the Missouri side of the metro area, down into Jefferson County, as well as down towards Washington and Crawford County. So this activity will tend to consolidate, we think, perhaps a little farther south and southeast of St. Louis, and then it tends to fizzle out. There'll be more action going by to our north. That could produce some heavy rainfall, too, through the overnight and early morning hours tomorrow. Here's the good news, though. With this happening overnight tonight, early tomorrow, while there still could be a few showers around first thing tomorrow morning, the trend will be just for the clouds to be there, and then we'll see things improve as we head into the mid to late afternoon hours with the clouds breaking up and very little rain actually after 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, which means temperatures will stay in the 80s probably for highs. Yes, we could still see some more rain accumulations to the south. Also the potential for some heavier amounts up from Bowling Green over towards Carrollton. Probably can stand a little more farther north than you can to the south. Sunday, you know, after tomorrow afternoon, it's pretty quiet, and most of tomorrow night is. By the time we get to Sunday, we have a pretty good cold front coming through. And Sunday afternoon late into Sunday evening, we may have some strong to severe thunderstorms. Right now, it looks like that threat would be mainly east of St. Louis. But it's still early in the game, and we'll see how things come together. But with that cold front coming in, it being warm and muggy near 90 degrees, that potential certainly exists for some stronger storms. We'll stay in storm alert here through about 1 o'clock in the morning. We do expect those storms to weaken a bit after that. And then as we head into tomorrow, a general decrease in clouds late in the day, in the mid to upper 80s for highs, close to 90 on Sunday. Again, that late day storm chance on Sunday with some strong wind gusts out of some of those storms. And boy, by Monday, It is so comfortable. Temperatures in the low to mid 80s.
We will have earned it.
Okay.
All right, Scott, thank you so much. Corey Miller is here to tell us what's next in sports.
Well, the Rockies took it to Adam Wainwright. Another former Cardinal had a good debut with his new team, and Mizzou football could be on a nice recruiting stretch. I'll explain next in sports.
The Sports Desk is sponsored by Jim Butler Chevrolet, the Midwest's #1 Chevy dealer 10 years running.
Coming into tonight, Adam Wainwright had an ERA of 1.38 against the Colorado Rockies in his career. That's the lowest ERA of any pitcher against the Rockies with at least 75 innings ever. But past success would not help Waino going for win number 199 tonight. Just two more wins for Wainwright to get to 200 for his career. And the wait goes on. Colorado teed off on Waino from the jump at Busch Stadium tonight. They scored 3 in the first, 3 in the second, and 7 total in 3 innings against Adam tonight. Cards did have some power. Nolan Arenado takes his old squad deep into the bullpen in the second inning. And Nolan Gorman kept up his smashing season with 2 moonshots tonight. Look at how high this goes up and how long it takes to come down in the Cardinals bullpen. That's a cloud scraper. Gorman now has 24 homers on the season. But the early damage was too much to overcome. Cards slugged 3 homers, tally 14 hits, but lose to the Rockies 9-4. Here's Ali on Waino's night.
Definitely had a lot of traffic. 3 innings, it seemed like every ball in play was a hit, some hard, some soft, but a lot of it found holes in grass, and recorded 9 outs, 5 of them through punch out, but just a lot of base hits. Yeah.
It's just a great stadium to play in, so I think both of us are pretty excited to be here. And from going to last to first is always fun.
Jordan Montgomery made his first start for the first place Texas Rangers tonight against Miami. 6 innings, just 2 runs allowed, and Monty was helped out by another former Cardinal, Adolis Garcia, who had 2 home runs tonight. Rangers win 6-2. St. Louis is home to some of the best wiffle ballers in the country. I've done a few stories out at the Skibby household for their annual Memorial Weekend tournament. Today they went big time on ESPN for a wiffle ball all-star game. That was Gus Skibby with the big strikeout. And here's Sam Skibby with a redemption hit after being plunked. Team Skibby did fall in the nationally televised all-star game to Team Kalamazoo. But still pretty awesome to see some local guys showcasing their wiffle ball skills for the country. In less than a month, Eli Drinkwitz will be leading his Tigers back onto Faurot Field. Between then, he needs to pick a starting quarterback and round his team into shape. But it's not just this year's team he's focused on. It could be a wild few weeks for Tiger recruiting. Drink already has a commitment from Francis Howell star receiver Jude James, but that could just be the start of a big in-state class. 5-star KC lineman Williams Nwani commits on August 14th. Mizzou is in his top 5. And then a pair of local star wideouts in CBC's Jeremiah McClellan and SLU 5-star Ryan Wingo both still have Mizzou in the mix as well. Talking with James, he thinks this could end up being quite the local recruiting class.
Oh, it's going to be awesome. I mean, we got some guys coming, I think, that could really shock the world for sure. You know, Mizzou's got a big class going, and I think a lot of people are going to be surprised.
I know when Drinkwitz got the job, he wanted to lock down the borders, and he's definitely done it at Francis Howell, and you just see what he's done in the recruiting. I think it's going to be a breakout year for him.
It has been a crazy day for college conference realignment, and the Pac-12 is in shambles. Oregon and Washington are leaving to join USC and UCLA in the Big Ten, and then another bombshell later today. Arizona, Arizona State, and Utah are leaving to follow Colorado and join the Big 12. That would put the Big 10 at 18 teams and the Big 12 at 16 teams. And at that point, I think you just have to rename these conferences already. Nothing matches up. College sports, total craziness right now.
They're unrecognizable,
it's
the conferences.
Unrecognizable.
Corey, thank you. Coming up, taking home the win, the restaurant taking the #1 spot in the region. If you're looking for a new spot to eat in St. Louis, look no further than Blues City Deli. It was rated the #1 restaurant in the Midwest for its sandwiches. That's according to Yelp's list of top 100 restaurants in the Midwest. It's located on McNair Avenue and open from 10:30 to 3 tomorrow. And Scott has a final check.
Still in storm alert tonight. We're tracking these storms right now out to the west and northwest of St. Louis. The ones farther northwest really aren't producing severe weather, but the ones out along the Missouri River and coming out of portions of Callaway County and into parts of Montgomery as well as parts of Gasconade County. These are the storms we're watching. You see those really bright colored areas there where it kind of goes from almost a whitish green to maybe even a hint of blue. That's where the strongest winds are. That's along Highway 100 going west out of Gasconade for some of it. Here's the timeline on that. New Haven, about 7 minutes after 11 o'clock. At the Washington Town and Country Fair, it would be 11:33, and it's probably going to die out to some degree before it gets there. Severe thunderstorm watch in effect for the St. Louis area until 1 o'clock. We'll stick with you for a while longer tonight.
And thank you for being with us for 5 on your side at 10.